Do you host a golf outing or would you like to? Did you know that the committee is the secret to your success? So, how do we ensure productivity with not only our committee members, but our meetings? Well, it starts with the meeting. So, welcome. Hello, everyone. My name is Phil Immordino with the GTAA, the Golf Tournament Association of America. For over 30 years, we've had the opportunity to work with over 200,000 golf tournament outing planners throughout the world. And we have one simple mission, and that is to help you produce a better golf tournament. We do this in many ways through these webinars, in-person seminars, newsletters, blogs, books, manuals, one-on-one counseling. We're here to help you produce the best golf tournament possible. And today I'm excited about this topic because this is one that is not really covered a lot. Sometimes we don't think it's important or it's overlooked. So I'm excited about today's topic. And over the last couple of years, it's been tough. COVID has affected many of our golf tournaments, but one of the good things that have come from COVID is just the opportunity to do meetings like this. Before COVID, I was running around the country doing seminars and running around the city doing meetings, and it was a waste of a lot of time. But one of the best things is the learning of how to do video phone calls, video webinars, seminars. So for us, it's been very productive, and we're excited to be hosting webinars on a regular basis just for you on topics that you need to know. So we don't need to waste money on driving around town and flying across the country. Now, there's a need for that, obviously, but at the same time, we can be very productive just on these video phone calls. So today, we're going to talk about something I think that's very, very important. And one of the things that we don't really talk about that much, and that is committee meetings. How do we host a productive committee meeting? So we're going to talk about a lot of things today. We're going to talk about, first of all, how do we recruit the right types of people? Second of all, we're going to talk about how do we get them involved. It's easy to have a big committee, but we need them engaged. We're also going to talk about the meeting structure. What does that look like? What should be covered? How long should it take? How to be productive? How do we keep most productive within that short period of time that we have with them? How long? How often? How to hold them accountable? It's one thing to get them all excited and get them helping with the tournament, but if we can't hold them accountable, if they can't get what's done that we've asked them to do, then it's a kind of a waste of time. So how do we make sure that they're held accountable and productive? How do we follow up with these committee meetings? Again, one thing to give them great ideas, but if we don't follow up, nothing gets done. And then we're going to cover all these topics. And if you stick with me to the end, I'm going to give you a kind of a bonus idea that I've seen really work well with these committee meetings. So let's get started. First of all, how do we produce a successful committee meeting? Well, I think it first starts with the committee, with the right people. I've seen a lot of dysfunctional committee meetings, a lot of dysfunctional committees. People aren't committed, people are loud, people are sharing ideas that have really no sense in being part of a golf tournament. So it starts with the right type of people. So let me just give you a couple thoughts on who are the right type of people and how many you should have. I think, first of all, we need people who are connected. They have relationships, because that's going to again be the secret to your success is volunteer committee members who are connected. They have relationships, because the two most important things that you're going to need for your golf tournament are sponsors and golfers. So you need people who have relationships with potential sponsors and they know golfers, because everything else is pretty much just logistics and operations. But you need sponsors for the profit and you need golfers for participation. So I encourage you to find people who are connected. That's step number one. Step number two Find people who are committed. It's one thing to get a bunch of people on your committee, but if they're not excited about your cause, excited about your mission and what you're trying to achieve, and they're not committed to the process, they're not going to show up to the committee meetings. They're going to be late. They're going to be unproductive. So you really need people who are committed to the process, and it's not easy to find these people. So we have a whole nother session on how do you meet with and how do you recruit volunteers, and I encourage you to check out that video. But you need people who are committed to you, committed to the process, and committed to the cause. And then finally, you need the right size committee. I've seen two major problems with not only these committee meetings, but committee volunteers in general, and that is, one, the size is too small, 2 or 3 people trying to do everything, and it tends to be overwhelming, or too many people on the call or on the committee, and you never get anything decided. There's too many opinions, too many different positions. So you want the right size committee. I think between 6 and 9 is the perfect size, because then it's manageable and get these people excited, and you can control it just a little bit better. So that's the right type of people to recruit. And it starts with that, because that's the foundation to what you're doing. All right. The next thing you want to do is make sure you get them involved. So how do you get people involved in the process? Not just in your committee meetings, but the whole process. And I think it starts with you. I think you need to be a person with vision. You need to really be able to paint the big picture, show them the process, show them the end result, get them excited about what you're trying to achieve. So you need to be the visionary. You need to be the one with the plan, and you need to be the one that gives them that plan and gives them that vision. Next, you need to have detailed, specific goals, not just let's plan a golf tournament and raise a bunch of money, but I mean specific goals, realistic, specific goals. Now, if you've never planned a golf tournament before, you need to know that the average golf tournament raises net between $5,000 and $8,000. So that's a good start if you're just getting started. I mean, remember, there's tournaments that do 50, 100, $250,000, but be realistic in the beginning. Don't shoot for something too high that you can't attain, because then it's frustrating for everyone. So have some realistic goals, not just with the money, but how many sponsors, how many golfers do you want? What's your overall mission? Is it exposure? Is it entertaining donors? Is it a serious competition? So have some specific goals in mind before you even get started. Next, get them involved by encouraging them. I've seen too many tournament chairmen or people who are in charge who tend to be dictators and bossy and try to take control. And remember, this is not about you. This is not about reaching your goals necessarily, but it's about them. It's about getting them involved. And I found that if you help people get what they want, you're going to get what you want. So you want people who are excited to be involved, and that means that you must become an encourager, never bossy, never controlling, never demanding. But remember, these are volunteers, so you want to be an encourager and support them and give them an attaboy and thank you so much and great idea. So you want to be the encourager, not just in the committee meeting, but throughout the whole process of what you're trying to accomplish. So be an encourager, and you'll get more participation. Also, you need to give them ownership. See, right now I find that they just feel like a sub part of your team, and I found that the owners of a company work much harder than an employee, or especially a volunteer, because they have no vested interest. So you want to try to give them ownership in your event. Make them feel like they own it, and they'll step up. They'll take responsibility. And how do you make them feel like they own your event? Well, you give them responsibility, specific responsibility, detailed responsibility. I encourage you, the very first meeting, you need to assign responsibilities. You need to give every person on that committee a job title, a title that makes them in charge of that department, and they'll be more productive and they'll step up. So you want to give out these type titles. Number one, there needs to be a tournament chairman. Now, if you're the tournament chairman, that's great. But if you're a staff member of a nonprofit or an association, you should not be the tournament director or the tournament chairman. You're behind the scenes because you're getting paid. People aren't going to follow you as much because they know you're getting a salary. So I think the most productive type tournament chairman is a volunteer, because people look up to that person, saying, if that person can volunteer their time, I can do the same thing. Not saying that staff people shouldn't be involved, but volunteers are going to get more respect than someone on staff getting paid to control the situation. So you want a tournament chairman for sure, and ideally a volunteer, but also ideally a golfer. You need someone that understands golf, because they can be a lot better, not only coordinator, but salesperson for you if they understand the game of golf. They've played in tournaments. They know what a good tournament is. They know what a bad tournament is. If you're not a golfer, it's going to be hard pressed for you to get as excited as us golfers do, because we understand the tournaments and the dynamics. So you want golfers involved. Not to say that if you're not a golfer, you can't be involved, but you're not going to be as productive. It's that simple. You also need a person on that committee who is the sponsorship chairman. We have many videos on sponsorship, and sponsorship is your profit. The more sponsors you have, the more money you make. It's that simple. And so you want someone to oversee that process. You want a sponsorship chairman, someone who's like the sales manager over sponsors. You also want a golfer chairman, someone who oversees the golfer process. That doesn't mean that they get the golfers. Everyone on the committee is responsible for getting golfers, but you definitely want someone to oversee that process, who coordinates who's in, who's out, who's paid, and so forth. So you definitely want to have a golfer chairman. The average tournament in the country only has 72 golfers. That's only half sold out. What the potential of a real tournament is. A sellout is anywhere between 120 and 144. So you need someone to oversee that process and drive that process, drive that department. You also want a gift and prize chairman, someone who's out there making sure that you get the gifts and prizes. You need to know that your tournament, your organization, is going to be judged by the gifts and prizes you give out. And if you give out a bunch of donated koozies, you're perceived as a cheap tournament. So you want good quality gifts. Now we have a whole new video on how to get those gifts and prizes, not only at the best price, but also paid for by somebody else. But you still need someone to obviously oversee that process. You need an operations chairman, someone who oversees the details. You need a media chairman, someone who helps you get exposure and PR. And then ideally, you want an auction chairman, someone who oversees the auction. So the key here, though, is giving these people ownership in your event. You give them ownership by giving them a responsibility and a department to oversee, and they step up. They want to make sure that their department is successful, and then you'll ask for a report from them on every meeting. So definitely you give them a job title. Everyone on the committee needs a specific responsibility. And then the final way to get them involved is you must have some type of an agreement in the beginning. Now, this is not a bounding contract. I mean, remember, these are volunteers. You can't fire them. You can't cut their pay. But what you want to do is you want to get their commitment, the commitment in the process. So you want to put what they're responsible for and what their goals are, and when the meeting dates are, in writing. Ideally, you want them to sign that, or at least at minimum, verbally commit to it in an email, possibly. So get an agreement that says what their responsibilities are, what their specific goals are, and that they're going to commit to come in and participate in the meetings, and put it in an email. And so get a response, let them commit to that. And I found that people are much more committed when they sign something or commit to a specific agreement. So this is how you get them involved. And I encourage you to do all these things, because the more you can encourage them, the more you can set the goals for them, the more they're going to get involved with you. So that's how you get them involved. Now, the question is, how do you structure a meeting? There's several ways to get the meeting structured. Now, I'm not saying this is the absolute, but this is what I found to be most productive in structuring a meeting. I like to see it stick to about an hour, not much longer, unless you're really getting going and you're brainstorming. But ideally, if everyone's busy, remember, they're volunteers. They don't have time to be spending an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours on a meeting. So ideally, a 1 hour Zoom meeting is best productive. And let me just remind you, that it doesn't have to be a Zoom meeting. It can be face-to-face. I love face-to-face meetings. Trust me, you can get a lot more done, but you still want to use the same structure or concept with a face-to-face meeting for your committee members. So the structure should be a couple things. One, introductions. I think it's important that everyone knows who each other is, what their gifts, what their talents are. You'll build a bond when you introduce everyone, let them introduce themselves, let them feel comfortable with each other. And so that'll not only build a bond, but friendships and communication between each department. So make sure you do some great introductions. If they're a little shy with how they introduce themselves, do your homework and make sure you introduce them properly with their skills, their talents, and their abilities. Second, we need to give them an outline, give them a list of topics, and state that in the beginning. Tell them that we're going to cover this, 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 and this, which we're going to discuss in a second. And now they know in their mind what they're going to be talking about and what's coming up. So mentally they can start getting prepared for that. As I mentioned, time frame is important. Tell them it's going to be an hour, because if you go over an hour, people are going to be looking at their watches. They're going to be bailing out on you, and they know that they've got other things going on. So it's important to set that time frame. And then also you want to set in motion future meetings. Let them know it's going to be once a month or once every other week or even weekly as you get closer to the event. As you do that, they're going to be more mentally prepared. They'll put it in their calendar. I send out an invite to make sure that they have that in their calendar so that they'll participate. All right, now what should be covered in a committee meeting? Now, there's a lot of things that you're going to be covered. Now, by no means are these the only things should be covered, but I encourage you to at least have these things, at least have these updates in your meetings. Number one, in the beginning, you obviously want to make it clear, what are your goals? Make it specific financially. We're trying to raise $25,000. We're trying to get at least 25 foursomes. Our purpose is clear. We're trying to raise money for a specific cause. And then every meeting, you want to give them a status. Okay, gang, so our goal is 25,000. We have 5,000 in sponsorship. We need 20,000 more. We're at 5 foursomes and we need another 20. So keep an update every single meeting on where you're at, so they feel like they're in the know and they know exactly where you're at a given moment. Obviously, you want to go through the schedule on a regular basis. What's the dates and the time frame. You want to give them a schedule of the event. When is the setup? When do golfers arrive? Is there a putting contest? When is lunch served? When is the event concluding? Is there an award ceremony? You want to keep a complete detailed schedule that you review and go over, so it gets set in their mind. Then you want to talk about the golf course, and the golf course, ideally, if it's a good golf course, they're going to step up and they may even want to be involved in your committee meetings. In fact, I recommend that. It's ideal if a golf course, now rarely do they do that. Most golf courses don't help at all, but ideally you want to find golf courses that do step up and will be a part of your committee members. They may invite you to come have committee meetings at their facility, which would be ideal, especially so everyone can get a feel of what the facility looks like and where things are located. But if you got people from all over the country or people that can't make that, then you want to definitely do a Zoom, but you want to try to get the golf course involved, so they're helping with the whole process. You want to talk about exposure, media, PR, advertising, promotions. How do you get the word out? Do you have a database? Do you have social media program? Do you have a media partner? Are you partnering with a radio station or a TV station or a trade magazine or a newsletter or any type of direct mail program? Discuss every detail, because exposure is key, not just for your event, but your organization and your sponsors. You want to give those sponsors a lot of coverage. You want to include them in a lot of the media that you do. So as I mentioned, you need someone overseeing that process, but you want to talk about the many ways that you can promote and get your event and organization some exposure. Then you want to talk about sponsors. You want to get detailed. You want to really, in fact, I like a separate meeting just to talk about sponsors, because I mentioned earlier, sponsors are your profit. So you want to get as many as possible. So you're going to want to have a very in-depth discussion. What's in a sponsorship package? And I have to tell you, gang, most sponsorship packages are pretty weak. And we have a complete video on how to get detailed into creating a productive and a sponsorship package that works, that gives sponsors a return on their investment. I encourage you to take a look at that. But you definitely want to get specific on not just what the packages look like, but what's in those packages. Is it giving your sponsors exposure? Is it giving them a return on investment? Is it giving them marketing and promotion? And then you want to have a complete brainstorming meeting just on who the potential sponsors are. You come up with a whole list. Everyone on the committee should come to the table with 10 to 15 organizations that they know that they're in relationships with, that they can bring to the table. And then you want one master list of all the potential sponsors. And I would discuss that every meeting. I would say, okay, is anybody calling this person? What did they say? Are they thinking about it? And the biggest problem with sales in general is the word maybe. I'll think about it, or I'll get back with you. There's an old saying, we love yeses, we can live with a no, but a maybe will put us out of business. And if you're not on top of every single sponsor on a weekly basis, they're going to tell you maybe until the end, until the tournament's over and you're out, and you're building up your hope, and then you're losing. So make sure that you're on top of, get a yes or a no, set a deadline with these sponsors, but make sure someone is following up on them. Make sure you have a master list of these sponsors, and you're talking about it literally every committee meeting, even offline, or even a separate committee meeting. The next thing you want to discuss in detail is golfers. What are these golfers getting? Are they getting a package that's worth that registration fee? One of the biggest problems I see with tournaments is they overcharge for their tournament in the name of the charity. And I would hate to break your heart, but most golfers aren't playing just because of the charity. Now, it's important to have a good cause, don't get me wrong, but they're playing because it's a great golf tournament and because their buddy asks them. They want to have fun. They can always give to your organization. They can always write you a check, but to get them in your tournament, you want to put on a great first-class golf tournament. So you want to be discussing, what are these golfers getting? Is the registration fee fair? In fact, does it have value? I like to give the golfers more than they pay for. That's what value is, giving them more. So you want to create a package for golfers that gets them excited about participating. What does that look like? Great golf course, great goodie bag, great food, networking opportunity. Make sure that the golfers feel like they're getting their value. But talk about golfers in every meeting, because you definitely want to make sure that you're on top of it. Who's in, who's paid. A lot of people will register and they don't pay. You got to make sure that you follow up with payment and make sure everyone pays in advance. So golfers are a very, very important topic during those committee meetings. The format of the golf tournament. What I found is that most tournaments don't even discuss format, games and contests. Format's very important. There's good formats and there's bad formats. Good formats help your participation. Good formats help you make money. Bad formats will hurt your participation. And we have a whole video just on formats, but it's important that you pick the right one. Is a scramble the best format? Do you need to go with a modified scramble? How about a best ball? Or maybe you want to make more money and you want to try a pro-am or a celebrity am or even a golf-a-thon that makes $100,000. So you really need to discuss the format. Don't just take for granted that a scramble is the best format. A scramble is not the #1 moneymaker. So it's important that you choose, if money's your goal, you choose the right format and choose the right amount of games and contests, the kind that make money. Games and contests, we all have the close to the pin. We all have the long drive. Those are all cute and fun, but they don't make any money. So you need to be thinking about money-making games. So there's so many options. Oh my goodness, there's so many new things. There's the Canon gun. There's the Beat the Pro. There's the Pay the Pro. There's the Long Drive Champion. There's the drone drop. I mean, there's dozens. In fact, there's over 400. I have a book out that has 400 games and contests and formats that are out there. And if you'd like a copy, let me know. But bottom line is that there's a ton of games to choose from. Now, you can't have too many and you can't have too few, but be thinking about money making games and contests to help that bottom line. You needed to talk in detail about food and beverage. The golf course needs to be a part of that. But people are tired about your same old burnt hot dog and another hamburger. But really, golfers like good food. So make sure that you're getting some great food for them. Talk about that in detail. Or they enjoy this? Is it going to be served on time? Is it going to be a cold cut sandwich? So discuss that in detail. And then finally, you want to talk in detail about the awards ceremony. Very, very important, because I hear all the time that people leave early and they don't want to stay for the awards ceremony. They're tired, they're burnt out, and it happens. So you need to design an awards ceremony that works, one that's fun. That I suggest that you turn it into a party. You bring in some entertainment. You invite other guests. You give them a reason to stay. People will stay if you give them a good reason to stay. So I encourage you to talk about the awards ceremony in detail to make sure that people are going to stay. Now, the question is, how do I get most productive in your committee meetings? Okay, this is how you stay productive and on task. Number one, do your homework. Be a leader. Don't just get on the phone and say, what do you want to talk about? What's on your mind? Be a leader. Have a plan in advance. Have an outline in advance. Know exactly what you want to talk about and what the goals are and what the process is, and make sure that you have your act together. And you do that by being prepared. You be prepared. You practice. You go over it. You need to plan your meetings well in advance. You can't just get up there and wing it. If you wing it, you won't be productive. But have a plan. Be prepared. I like to see options. Give your people options. Don't be the dictator. Don't be bossy and demanding, but give them options. So, for example, just don't say this is the golf course. Say these are the 3 best golf courses that we found. Here are the prices. Here are the options. Here is their location. Here's the pros. Here's the cons. Find out if they're going to help you. Pick the right golf course. It's so important. If you don't know this, the golf course is one of the most important reasons that a golfer participates in a golf tournament. Think about it. What's the first question that everybody asks when you tell them you're putting on a golf tournament? Where's it at? What's the golf course? And if it's a dumpy golf course, people don't want to participate. They want to get excited about the golf course. So you need a good one. So you give them some options. You do your homework, or you have someone help you with the homework, and you give everyone options, and you pick the best one out of the 3 top after you've gotten a request from a proposal and so forth. So a golf course is one example. Gifts and prizes. Give them an example. Give them a high end, medium, low end. Talk about pricing. Talk about the quality, but give them options on gifts and prizes. And you do that with every single topic. Don't be a dictator. Don't be a boss and bossy and tell them this is it. Make them feel a part of it. Make them feel part of the decision-making process, but give them options and they'll pick the right one. You have an idea in your mind what's the right one. So, but give them some direction with that. And then ideally you want to lead the discussion and not with, again, demands, but more asking questions. Questions are very powerful if they're done in the right way. You want to ask questions. What do you think about this? Hey, had you thought about this process? And just remember, if we do it this way, this is going to happen. So again, that comes with doing your homework and being prepared, but you want to lead the discussion, and you don't want to cut people off. You don't want to say, we don't want to hear about that. You want to give people enough string to talk about what they want to input. But some people can ramble on. Let's face it, they'll talk and talk and talk, and then you're stuck listening. So you need to say, we need to finalize this topic, and we need to move on, because I want to be sensitive of your time and move on to the next topic. So control the discussions, ask questions, tell them thank you for that input, but we really need to move on. And then put a time limit on every topic. Obviously, there's some that are take longer, but don't spend an hour talking about the golf course unless it's dedicated to talk about the golf course. And you may want to do that. You may want to have subcommittee meetings that specifically has to discuss the golf course. So or sponsors or golfers, but try to keep every topic on task and on time, and not over discuss it and beat it to a dead horse. So then those are the ways you want to be productive. Okay, so if you follow those things, very, very, very productive meetings. All right, now the question is how often, how long, how short. So ideally you really, really, really want to start 6 months in advance. I suggest 6 months in advance, and there's a lot. I mean, there's some things you want to do a year in advance. To be honest with you, you really ideally would love to nail down the golf course and the date. There's some big sponsors that you want to reach out a year in advance. But ideally, to give yourself the most time to be most productive, you want 6 months. Start your committee meeting 6 months in advance. And then maybe in the beginning, the first couple of months, you just meet, once a month, just to kind of get the ball rolling, get things going, get people thinking. And then you want to start meeting every other week, about 3 or 4 months out, meet every other week, because there's a lot of things that start happening, 3 to 4 months out. You sponsors are starting to get wrapped up, and golfers are starting to sign up and so forth. And then about 6 weeks out, ideally, you want to meet every single week. If you're doing this right, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of details, and you don't want anything to slip through the cracks. So make sure that you start meeting on a weekly basis. And then obviously, and this is not in the outline, but you definitely want to meet at the facility as a committee way before the event starts, 2 or 3 hours before the event starts. Make sure that everyone's on the same page, that everyone has an operations manual, which we'll have a separate video webinar on that topic. What does an operations manual look like? But you need an operations manual to make sure everyone's on the same page, and make sure that everyone's with you. So that's kind of how often you want to put these meetings. Now the question is, how do you hold them accountable? Very, very important, because you can go through and have a great meeting. Everyone's excited. During these meetings, everyone's excited. Everyone has great ideas. They have all these sponsors that they're going to bring to the table. They know all these golfers. Their brother-in-law sells shirts. So everyone has a million ideas in the beginning. But trust me, slowly but surely, people start dropping off. People don't show up. They have excuses. They won't come to the committee meetings. They haven't followed up with their sponsors. They haven't followed up with their golfers. So you need to hold these people accountable. And not in a mean way, but in an encouraging way. Because remember, they've agreed to do what they said they're going to do. They've agreed to participate in the event. They've agreed to participate in the committee meetings, and they've agreed to go out and get sponsors, be the head of a department, look for golfers and so forth. So they've agreed in the beginning. So all we're doing in a nice, encouraging way is holding them accountable. So it's easy. We think it's hard. We hate being pushy. We hate, making demands, but you have to, gang, because if you don't, everything will slip through the cracks. So you must hold your volunteers accountable. And it's not difficult, just in a few different ways. And obviously you do that by a couple things. Number one, you have set specific goals for that person. So every person has specific goals. Maybe it's 3 sponsors, maybe it's 3 foursomes, maybe it's a couple of raffle items, some gifts and prizes. Put that in writing, make sure they have it, and then follow up. Emails are productive. Just send them an email. How's it coming with these areas? And they're not going to ignore you. They may in the beginning, but if you send out a couple, they're going to follow up and say, well, yeah, I've got this in the works and this in the works. But give them specific goals to make sure that they know where they're going. I mean, you can't hold them accountable if they don't know their direction or what they're supposed to do. So have goals, have the tasks individually written out so they know what their plan is, and then you hold them accountable to that. Get it all in writing. As I mentioned, we want an agreement in writing, and you're holding them accountable to that. An email once a week is great. You hold them accountable, just dropping them a note. How you coming with that? I like to get a weekly report from them. Ask for every committee member to send you a weekly report by the end of the week. It's going to list who they're calling, who they're talking to, what's the status. I love weekly reports, and they're very productive. And then worst case scenario is a phone call. You just give them a phone call. You just say, hey, what's happening? How you doing? How can I help you? How can be an encourager, say you're doing a great job, but if I can help in any way, let me know. So make sure that you follow up with an email, with weekly reports and a phone call. That's how you hold them accountable. And then finally, follow up. Follow up is absolutely essential. Biggest problem that a lot of committee tournament chairmen have, they don't follow up. So here's some things you want to do. Number one, send out or record the call, record the meeting. Make sure that you have a video record of that. But there's people that didn't make it that may want to watch it. There are people that weren't paying attention. They were working during the meeting and they may want to rewatch it. There's specific details in there. Everyone should be able to review the recorded meeting, and you can do that very easily on all the video services. We use Zoom a lot, and you can record that. This is being recorded, so and you're going to get a copy of this, so you can review it if you want to review certain parts of it, or maybe you had to leave early, or maybe you got in late, or maybe you've got a committee that you want to share this with. We're going to send you that link, but record all your meetings so you have a backup of what happened and what's happening. Number two, take notes. Take notes of what everyone says, all the ideas, what are the action items, who's going to be following up on what, and then send that out in an email that day, worst case the next day, but send that out so everyone can review what they're supposed to do. People maybe not taking notes during your meetings, and so you want them to be able to refer to what they're supposed to do, and what's happening is the big picture. So take notes, write them up, send them out to everybody. And then, as we talked about in holding them accountable, weekly follow-ups, emails and phone calls. Communication is the secret to your success with a volunteer committee. The volunteer committee is your secret weapon, but communications is your secret tool to make sure that they're being productive. So we've covered a lot of stuff. Before I wrap up, I just want to tell you about a couple things. Some of you may be thinking, oh, this is overwhelming, this is too much. And I want you to know that we can help. Okay, so we're here to help you if you need help. We do a lot of stuff here, a lot of it for free, a lot of it we can do, one-on-one. And I just want to go over a couple things that we do for you, that we can do for you if you need it. A lot of you are pros and you're doing a great job, and keep it up. But some of you may be just getting started. Some of you may be struggling. Maybe you feel overwhelmed. And I want you to know that we're here for you as your coach, as your personal coach, mentor, to help you every step of the way. So one, what we can do is we can analyze completely last year's tournament. We can do a tournament diagnostic, which will evaluate every section. In fact, we have a tournament diagnostic that you can do on your own. But if you need our help, because keep in mind, we've seen thousands of tournaments, so we can help you with that. So a tournament diagnostic is huge. We also can do one-on-one meetings with you, personal one-on-one meetings, you got a million questions, we can help you with those. We can also do monthly phone calls with you. We can do them with your committee, with your team. We're more than happy to help you with your committee meetings. If you need us just to listen, to offer ideas, if you need us to run them for you, we're more than happy to do that, because it can be overwhelming at times, especially if you have a full-time job and a lot of other events you're doing, things you're doing. We can help you with the structure of your event. We've put together dozens of business plans for tournaments. We have the structure, we have samples, we can help you with that. If you need structure, kind of a game plan, kind of a plan of attack, action items, the budget. We can help you with detailed committee responsibilities. Some people say, well, you're in charge of sponsors, you're in charge of golfers, but they don't know what to do. So we have all that in detail that we can help you with. We can actually help you train your committee. We just trained the committee of Tee It Up for the Troops last week. And so we can help train your committee. Maybe you run the meetings, but we want to help train them in selling sponsors or getting golfers. We can help you with that. We can help you create sponsorship packages. So those are key. And we've seen dozens of them. We can help you with those sponsorship packages. We can help you identify sponsors. That's the biggest thing, is just to brainstorm on those sponsors. Very, very important. And we can help you identify them. We can help each person go after and create sponsorship packages that will sell, that are productive. So it can help you with that. We can help you create the games and contests, choose the format. As I mentioned, we have a book with over 400 of them, so we can help you with that. And then we can help you with the auction, creating the auction. What does that look like? We have companies that help with the auctions all the way through the whole process, the bidding process. We can help you with the operations manual. We can help you find the golf course, and we can also do an evaluation call at the end of your tournament. So we've been very fortunate to help a lot of companies across the country, across the world, actually. We've worked with major golf course management companies, the big ones, the Club Corps, the Troon, Century, Arnold Palmer. We work with major manufacturers, suppliers, Srixon, Cleveland, TaylorMade. We've worked with major charities, American Cancer Society. We work with associations, the Chamber of Commerce Associations, and ASAI and PPAI and AFP, and you name them. We've had a chance to either speak at their conference, train their people, do webinars for them. So we've got a good handle on that. We can help you if you need some help. We'd love to work with you. So you're wondering, okay, Phil, what's free, what's not? Well, let me just tell you, there's a lot of free stuff. Obviously, this webinar is free. We have free planning guides. We have free checklists. We have free tournament diagnostic. We have free videos. We got a video on every topic. We have the golf tournament channel, which has all of these videos and a lot more there that you can tune in anytime. Just watch the videos, and hopefully they'll be helpful. But you're saying, okay, so what does it cost to really get in depth, to really take your time? Well, we have a couple of very easy, simple little packages. If all you want me to do is come in and kind of meet with you one-on-one, evaluate your situation, you want to talk about, your tournament, did it exist, or even getting started, we can do that for a simple little minor fee of $500 just to get you rolling. A couple of meetings, talk about it, develop the business plan. You really want to get into it, we can even participate on some of your committee meetings. You want to jump in on a couple of calls, train some of your people, we have a package for that. And then if you really want us to get involved in the whole process, holding you accountable, meeting with you on a weekly basis, talk about stuff anytime, we can definitely do that for you. So we have a lot of options. They're not expensive, and here's the best part is we offer you a money back guarantee. I guarantee it, if you get involved with us, you're going to make more money than last year, a minimum of 25% more than you made last year. So feel free to reach out if you want to. We want to create a package. You need more involvement, less involvement, that's fine. Whatever we can to help you, we'd love to do that. So let me wrap up by saying this. I promised you a kind of a bonus idea before we wrapped up. So let me just give you this bonus idea for your committee members, okay? And some of this may be a little bit a stretch for you, a little bit outside the norm, but trust me, it works. And that's very simple. It's an incentive program, an incentive program for your committee members. Well, I think it's a given. You want to give everyone on your committee some type of gift, some type of thank you gift to say thank you for your participation, because they've worked hard and you want to give them that thank you gift. But I like to offer a little incentive, and it's the simple process. You say, hey, if you bring in, $15,000 in sponsorship, you're going to get a dinner for two. If you bring in $25,000 in sponsorship and golfers and gifts and merchandise, we're going to give you a weekend stay at a hotel. So think about an incentive program. If you can give volunteers a little incentive, and don't get me wrong, everyone's there to help. They're committed. They're excited about you. They're excited about the cause. They will help. They'll work really hard for you. But trust me, don't take this wrong. They're just doing what they have to do to get by. Okay, they're not going to, what's the difference? What's the motivation for them to sell 5 foursomes versus 1 foursome? What's the motivation for them to sell 2 sponsors versus 6 sponsors? There is none. They're not motivated, gang. Trust me. They're only going to do what they have to do to get by, and don't take it personal, but that's just human nature. So give them incentive, run a little contest, have a contest for the volunteer committee person who does the most and brings in the most, gets a trip, gets a cruise, cruise for 2 to the Bahamas, something that gives them an incentive. And trust me, if you do that, they're going to work, that much hard, just a little bit of a boost to get them excited. So please don't be afraid to offer them some type of incentive to get them going with your event. So let me wrap up, gang, by saying this. You've been patient. I appreciate you all hanging in there. Great job. But we're going to wrap up very simply by doing this. You must have an effective committee to be successful. You must have effective committee meetings to make sure your committee members are successful. So have a plan. Have a detailed, specific plan to where you're going, where you're headed. Be prepared. Do your homework. Don't wing it. They want a leader. They want someone who knows the options. They can give them direction that shows them the vision. And then you want to communicate through the whole process, over communicate, make sure they feel like not only they have ownership, but they're in the loop, they're with you, they're there. And then most importantly, gang, be an encourager. Be a motivator. Encourage and motivate every single person on your committee, one-on-one if you can, emails, phone calls. Let me just remind you that you're going to get what you want if you help other people get what they want. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. We're excited that you could join us today. We have a bunch of videos that go into detail about other topics. Just look at the golf tournament channel. I'll send you that link. And then if you want any of the things that we talked about, just email me, let me know. We'd love to work with you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate what you're doing for the community. So good luck with your tournament, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.